Today's collectible spot, we're having a look at the Hasbro Kre-o Transformers Micro Combiners Constructicon Devastator. This would be set A224 and contains 4 micro-changing Kre-os. Being that these are combiners, those 4 Kre-os actually transform to form Devastator. Though, truthfully, you are missing a few of them. But nonetheless, the Kre-os that you get are Bone Crusher, Scavenger, Scrapper, and Mix Master. Flip over the package. On the back, there's a picture of Devastator. And I think he looks pretty neat. He looks pretty neat indeed. You can see the 4 Kre-os, each with their respected alternate modes. And down below, the other alternate combiners, you have Superion, Predaking, and Bruticus. Spot was lucky enough to pick up all of them. Actually, truth be told, Spot didn't pick up any of them. His friend picked them up for me, and I'm now reviewing them. You can go to www.Kre-o.com to check out everything that's Kre-o. Also advertised at the top, Beast Hunters. Beast Hunters. What I am going to do is to get this opened up, then we're going to have a look at the Kre-os, then we're going to have a look at Devastator. Definitely more on the way. Stay tuned. And I figured I'd do these in robot mode first, and then we would work our way to vehicle mode and then Devastator. Works in the cartoon, we'll do it that way. Having a look at our first Kre-o. Got ourselves Scavenger here. In Kre-o form, they're actually really cute. And even though I haven't really reviewed the other 3 sets yet, I'm really digging the look of these Kre-os from the Constructicon line. The purple and this really neat green, I think, excel and really pop on these little Kre-os. I also really like the cube-like helmets that they've got going on there. You can see that they've got, well, he's got himself a blaster. Most of the Constructicons actually do come with, actually they all do come with weapons as well. The problem I have with these is, what Spot has indicated before, is these vests. Now, the vest on the back here, this is for his scoop. I mean, it's nice that Scavenger has that, but for me, I'm just going to take this off just for a second here and just show you guys. You take this vest off, I'm probably going to have to lose most of the... I'm going to have to take off everything. Wouldn't you know, I just take off everything just to prove a point. Spot just can't leave a point alone. He's got to draw home a point, so he's going to take apart the whole thing. When I take the vest off, yeah, Scavenger looks a lot cooler, as well as all the other Constructicons look a lot cooler with that vest off. Look at all this lost chest decaling, or chest printing that is all removed simply by having that vest. So as I mentioned before, where the peg is, I would likely just take this piece off, and I would just keep that back piece on, and then you don't lose any of this really neat detailing on the front. Scavenger looks really cool. We always got to cover it with a SWAT vest. He's also got these side treads that are plagued, as always, with this being loose because they don't peg. I mean, they peg into the arms, but they're just really loose, that's all. There you have Scavenger. Moving along, the much beefier Constructicon. We got ourselves Scrapper. Now, Scrapper looks like a lot of what he uses will end up being Devastator. You'll see that his top helmet, I think also was used for Starscream, but his top helmet here also ends up being used for Devastator. And the fact that all the other Constructicons all have that square-like helmet, he's the only one that's a little bit different. His back print, or his front print, is not lost because at least his back piece attaches in the head and doesn't rely on this front, U-shaped vest. So you can appreciate the print that was put on him. I'm not sure if it looks necessarily like Scavenger, but, you know, some luxuries have to be made. He's also got himself a ginormous gun, as you can see right here. By the way, the articulation would be the same on all these. Their heads rotate left and right. They've got a slight ball joint in the arms that allow the arms to move in and out. Rotation in the hand, the waist swivel, and then the legs go forward, back, and out. Unfortunately, with all these pieces, there's a lot that gets in the way, but still looks pretty good. Scrapper. Moving along, we have ourselves, now this one was, I'm just looking at my reference here, this one was, oh, Bone Crusher, that's right. Bone Crusher. Again, utilizes that vest, which, you know, there's Mixmaster. They kind of just look the same because they all have that piece. On the back, he's got his scoop. So again, if that's not a big concern for you, here goes Spot taking off pieces again. Take the head off here and take off the vest. This stuff never comes off as quick as you want it to in these reviews. After the fact, super easy. During a review, not so much. Just gonna take these pieces off here. I might as well just build the blasted vehicle modes. There we go. And we'll just get his legs back in. Put the head back on. Put his helmet back on. Looks a lot nicer, does it not? Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Bone Crusher, I think, looks really neat. It's just a shame so much of it always gets lost in these. There you have Bone Crusher. Also with his blaster. A little bit different. That's a very G1 style blaster. Little blaster gun there. And lastly, as Spot was already showing you, there is Mixmaster. I like the expression on his face. He's angry. I like that. He's also got a whole bunch of purple. Which, and there's the back piece of his robot mode. I'm just going to take this off. Once again, Spot needs to drive home the point. Let's take the pieces off here. Ah, these vests are so stiff sometimes. Here we go. And put the legs back on. At least he's still got his tires. That's kind of neat. And put on his head. Where is his head? Oh, his head rolled away. Put on his head like so. That looks a lot neater. A lot nicer, indeed. And there he is next to his brethren. So there you go. Now Spot's made a bit of a mess, but there you have all of them in Kre-o mode. Spot's actually going to take a break. He's going to redo these, and when we come back, we're going to have a look at them in vehicle mode. Stay tuned. And now in vehicle mode, let's have a look at the Constructicons. You know, surprisingly, the vehicle modes aren't terrible. They're actually not too bad, utilizing the same Kre-os as we saw before. For starters, we have Bone Crusher here. And I like it. I like it's pretty good. You got a little scoop going on in the front. He's got his treads on the side. Sure, it's the Kre-o laying down with his legs up, but nonetheless, he's still pretty good. Pretty solid overall. Still, he's got the loose treads, but I can overlook that. Got ourselves Mixmaster. Probably the worst, the weakest of the Constructicons. He looks more like he's just laying down with tires in his hand than he does an actual cement truck. This is far from being a cement barrel, but you know, you can only do so much. Really, they could have put a larger piece there or something. There you have Mixmaster. Probably he is the weakest, I think, of the lot. Reaching over here, we've got Scavenger. Got a scoop going on the front. Not bad. This, I'm glad at least they incorporate this additional piece on the back legs, so at least you have something you can build onto. If that was the case, Mixmaster, they could have easily just put a barrel or something on this back piece as opposed to using this. Just looks like he's got an engine on his back. This one looks pretty good. Scavenger, I think, is one of the better of the four. And lastly, I think my favorite is definitely Scrapper. He is the least looking as if he is just a Kre-o laying down. I mean, there's his body, but he at least looks more like a vehicle than the others. He also utilizes stickers, which the other ones really don't use. Sticker on his scoop and sticker on his windshield there. The smokestacks also conceal a lot of the limbs and everything else. So I would say he is the best. Scrapper, in my personal opinion, is probably the best in vehicle mode. I guess the only other thing we have to do is really put these all together and form Devastator. So I'm going to take another break. I'm going to get them together as Devastator. We'll be right back. And finally, in all his glory, you have yourself Devastator. I like what they did here. I like how they incorporated existing Kre-o pieces to give us Devastator. In some areas he looks a little spindly, like in the arm joints here and in the leg joints, but I like that even there's the hint of Devastator aspects to it. You got the Mixmaster side, and this piece almost should have been flipped around, but according to the instructions it goes up that way. Maybe they did it to make the legs look a little longer. But he's got all the aspects there. The instructions are kind of funny because the head that I've got currently going on there is the head that I've chose. You have 4 different heads you can choose from. The box shows Devastator with the angry face, and yet if you flip it around, it also shows him with the calm, more composed face. I felt more so that Devastator just deserved a regular face. Didn't necessarily need to make him so angry. But I like it. I like it a lot. It's a little fragile in some aspects. When you start moving waists and pieces like that, the lower waist of the Kre-o tends to start coming loose. But it's pretty good. There's the back of Devastator. These tires kind of get a little loose as well, and they start falling off if you're not too careful. In the way of his articulation, he has the same in the head. Now, because he's got all these extra pieces, they're almost like bionicle pieces. You have a ball joint in the upper shoulder, rotation in the forearm. You could theoretically move the lower legs to rotate the hands of Devastator. This hand actually has his big mammoth cannon, which is neat. Had they made this like a Megatron gun for him to hold, that would be even cooler as well. As I said, he's got those swivel in the waist, but you can see where he starts wanting to come loose from himself. You can just kind of pick that back into place. And then for his legs are on that same sort of ball joint. They can move back, or sorry, forward, back, out. He's got a swivel hinge at the knee. And that's really about it. That is about it, but I mean, for the fact that this is Kre-o's, essentially just disassembled, reassembled with additional pieces, I think you got a pretty neat looking Devastator. He's small, and you still got extra pieces, which I'm looking at the pieces. It'd be neat to find ways to incorporate those pieces onto Devastator and just kind of beef him up a bit, but I'm still pretty happy with the overall end result. As also a side note, he does come with a Kre-o base, but you would make use more so for the Kre-os themselves, not necessarily for Devastator, because he is so incredibly large. But I'm really happy. I'm happy with how he turned out. I haven't done the reviews of the other combiners, but based on this guy alone, I'm almost feeling like Devastator is going to be my favorite from the combiners. He is still fairly easy to find in retail. Luckily for me, my friend was able to find him for me, as Devastator, for some reason, could not find him in the stores that I was looking at. I guess Spot was looking in the wrong spots, but Devastator, on a combiner level, I'm going to give him, I'm going to give him a 6.5. He does things really, really well. I mean, it's very imaginative what Hasbro has done with these. I think initially the Kre-os seemed as the additions to the build sets, but ultimately what we ended up getting was really neat concepts for the Transformers, and now to incorporate that aspect into combiners as well, I think works really, really well. Today's collectible spot, though, we're having a look at the Hasbro Transformers Kre-o Micro Changer Constructicon Devastator. Thanks for watching, guys. See you next time.